top billers, right? High billers, they're the ones that are bringing in the good money. One of those leaves for whatever reason, right? It doesn't have to be negative, but they leave. And then that trickle effect, because they were in that little group of high billers, right? They support each other. That's now fragmented. So one by one, your top billers leave, maybe over a period of years, right? It's not necessarily quick. And then suddenly you've got a business where you don't have your top billers, you don't have anyone new who can replace them.
This next episode is a must listen for everybody in the recruitment industry, whether you've been in the industry for a week or for decades, whether you're running a business, whether you're planning to set up on your own, or whether you're just very happily being employed. This is Ali Braid, and she's the founder of the Recruitment Trainer. And with an amazing skill set and accolade of being in the recruitment industry for over 20 years, having been a teacher before that, she is one of the most respected trainers in our entire industry. And you'll see why I invited her on. Her energy is infectious. She's got such strong pastoral care at the heart of everything that she does. And we talk very sort of passionately, I suppose, about the lack of training and development and hiring of future recruiters into our industry over recent years. But what responsibility we all have within that, how we can ensure that we're attracting the right people, what the future of hiring actually looks like for our industry and beyond. You're going to absolutely love it, Ali. Can't wait for you to jump in. Let's go. This is Lysha Holmes, and I'm your host on the Recruiters Recruitment Podcast. And I'm rather embarrassed, actually, because given we are now well over halfway into season 6, I can't believe that I've never had this guest on before, because I just presumed she'd been on. I presumed that this wonderful, amazing, professional, kind, expert lady, who I've had the pleasure to know for about 6 years, I think, quite a long time now, I haven't asked on my podcast. I'm a bit embarrassed. So without further ado, please welcome to our global community today, Ali Braid, who is the fabulous founder and owner of the Recruitment Trainer. Welcome, Ali.
Thank you so much. Oh, that was lovely. What an intro. What an intro.
Well,
Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome.
So
And I know it's very good to have you here. I can't believe you've not been on before, but there you go. We're here now. We're righting the wrong.
Exactly.
So we know each other. We've met each other in real life a few times. I think we met possibly around COVID time. Possibly.
I think you're right. Yeah, possibly in a lockdown on another
in the
podcast.
lockdown. Yeah, I think exactly. I want to say Ian Knowlton maybe introduced us.
Yes, I think it
was my on-screen recruitment husband, as he likes to call himself. Yeah. It was. Yeah. That's what's occurring to me. So I know who you are. I know what you do, but there'll be plenty of people clicking on here going, "Oh, I wonder what this is about." Tell us about your background, Ali, what it is you do.
Sure. So I run my training consultancy business, the Recruitment Trainer, which is my 10th year in business.
Wow. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
It does feel a bit of a moment, a bit of a year.
Milestone.
Yeah. And I always, as you do when you're thinking, oh, what am I going to say for these things? I feel like my journey to that point, I've done a bit of everything. So I've done temp recruitment. I recruited recruiters. I've trained. I was ops director. I've had all these different roles, and I've seen a lot, obviously, as we both have in our time in recruitment. But when I started actually as a temp recruiter, I knew quite quickly I wanted to get into training. I had a teacher background, and I had been a teacher before I went into recruitment. So that kind of learning aspect, I think, was always in me. It was always something I was interested in. And quite quickly I thought, well, maybe I can match up my sort of sales part of me with my development side. So it was something I was really interested in quite early on, actually, as a recruiter. And that was 23 years ago now when I started. But in terms of my business, I know. In terms of the business, 10 years, and I work with big, FTSE listed businesses. I've worked with solopreneurs, and I've worked with everything in between, and
Yeah.
I don't like to pigeon myself, right? I don't
No,
like to
no,
say, oh, I
no.
just do this,
You just do this. You are a
you know.
recruitment trainer. I
Yeah,
love, you know what's really unique about this, because we have had other amazing recruitment trainers on the podcast before,
yeah, yeah.
is that the difference with you is that you had that intention from early on that this is where you knew. Whereas I
Mhm.
think what happens is, and I'm not being disingenuous to any of the amazing trainers out there,
Yeah,
is that they often fall into the training bit because maybe they're not
yeah,
enjoying the billing side or the management
yeah,
side. But I love that that was your intention. And maybe that's why A, you endure, and B, your whole, I mean, I do know you and I know you as a person,
yes,
but your whole
yeah,
professional and personal brand is different because maybe it's just so inherent in you, because maybe because of the teaching background, you're just
yes,
interested in the journey of people.
yeah, yeah. I think you're right, and how, and I do sort of think about my own learning, right? Because if I can't do it, how can I,
Mm, yeah,
how can I help other people to do it? So,
yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? But I like to think that obviously we are in a sales business, right? And I'm always very conscious of that. Yes, we have to make money,
Mm,
and we have to be hitting targets, and that's really important. But how you get that recruiter on that journey of billing more
mm,
and doing more and achieving more, um, and how that links to how we learn and our
mm.
brains and our physiology. Yeah, it's really interesting, and I'll never know everything, but yeah, I find it fascinating actually.
I do as well. I
And
do as
probably
well.
geek
It's
out a bit.
Oh no, we can
Yeah,
geek
and I know you're
together. We're both so passionate
yeah,
about
yeah,
our industry, and we
exactly.
both, we both
Exactly.
supply the industry, and that's where
Yeah,
you and I've
yeah,
had so many offline conversations in real life and on the phone and on WhatsApp voice notes. By the way, we're both
yeah,
terrible voice
yeah.
notes, aren't we? Where we like waxing lyrical, but
No.
it's because at the deepest point we both care so much about the industry. But I love that
Mm,
you are also agnostic, and I just want to make that point before we start on this conversation that I think it gives you a
yeah.
really brilliant bird's eye view of what is actually
Mm.
happening rather than what you see on LinkedIn, everybody. What is actually happening
Yes, yes.
across our industry when it comes to
Yeah,
learning and development? And I don't, please don't switch off,
yeah,
because I think if you think you know it all, then why are you even listening to a podcast? No one knows
yes,
everything,
yeah.
and we all know something about
No,
something. But if you're not
yeah,
constantly learning and developing yourself, whether you are a solo founder, whether you are leading a team, whether you're listening to this and you're just starting out, it's about that. So, from that perspective, that's why I had to get you on the podcast, because I think, particularly over the last 18 months or so, you and I've had some, I'm going to use a very dramatic word, we've had some very deep, grave concerns around
yeah.
the lack of investment in trainees and future proofing our industry. So can you give we're recording this, guys, in February 26th. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure when this goes out whether it will have changed much anyway, but can you just give a perspective of
Mm,
your bird's eye view over the last maybe 12, 18 months of why you've got this
yeah.
concern or had this concern?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So I think last year, I think, there was a lot of um there was a lot of caution around spending money, and that was in most things, right, in our
Hmm.
industry. So whether it was hiring, whether it was spending money on in an office, on fixed assets, there was a lot of caution around spending. And I think, unfortunately, what did happen as the months rolled on and we went from globally crisis to crisis,
Mm,
people going, right, well, we won't hire, we won't develop the people we have now, we're just heads down. And it was that real sort of reactive, just firefighting,
yeah.
I think.
Mm, mm,
um and and so, yeah, and now you and I know we are seeing the results of that firefighting, and of
mm.
that, just really, I'm
Blinkered.
just going to focus on what's in front of me. Yeah, yeah. And we need to bill, and that is all we can do, right? And I understand that mindset, right? We all get in that mindset when times are tough. But I think, yeah, we are seeing the result of that. now, do you think? Just,
Yeah. Well, it's
with
interesting, isn't it? You started your business 10 years ago when it was the
yeah,
boom market. It was just such
yeah,
a the market for me from 2011
yeah,
till 2019 was just this amazing market
yeah,
of, if you got a good
yeah,
recruiter or
yeah,
you partnered with a recruitment business, it was just like a field
yeah,
day, really.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't think it's ever going back to that. I think that
No,
things
no.
have been too significant the last 2 years, particularly around, I don't want to keep talking about AI and automation, but the impact it's actually had on
Yeah.
trainees isn't exclusive to our industry.
Mhm.
It's every industry.
Yeah.
So I think what
Yeah.
happens in
Yeah.
recruitment is that we like shiny new toys. We like to think we're ahead of the curve. We like to think oh, I'm investing in all this tech stack and look at us and we've
Yeah.
got this amazing website and everything else. But underpinning everything that we do is the human beings using that. And if we're not thinking a year, 5 years, 10 years ahead,
Mm.
you're only having the same people that you have now. You're never actually introducing new talent. So if you're not if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, it's
Yeah.
okay because we've got our solid team, we don't need to hire. What about in 5 years when those people that are with you have
Yeah.
gone abroad or left the industry? Where's the next
Yeah.
talent coming from? Because actually, if it's you, it's everyone
Yeah.
else. So I think you're right. I think
Yeah.
there's been a lot happening externally. I think recruitment business owners, and I'm saying this is an amazingly loyal supplier. We are the most risk averse when
Yeah.
it comes to
Yes.
spending money
Yeah.
on investment,
Mm.
other than shiny new subscriptions, of which we probably
Yes.
all spend a lot of money on that.
Yes. Yes. And that's what I heard a lot last year as well, as you say, it's the AI. Oh, we're going to spend 30 grand on this. Great. Are you getting that money back?
Yeah.
And I think currently, I think what we're seeing now and what I'm seeing is the short answer is no,
No. Yep.
because for a variety of reasons, but maybe they've not been, they've not been trained properly on
Yep.
how to use the tech. Um, yeah, so that's a whole heap of problems, right? But as you say, ultimately, it's the humans using it. It's the humans
Mm.
using it,
Mm.
and I think as well, what we might start to see, unfortunately, as you said, if you've got, let's say, in an average sized business, what, 20 people, let's
Even
say, you've got
10 to
20
12
people,
is probably the average in
10,
the UK.
10 to
Yeah.
12, yeah, yeah. So let's say of those 10 to 12, let's say you've got maybe a handful, less than a handful of top billers, right? High billers,
Mm.
they're the ones that are bringing in the good money.
Mm.
And what I think often happens, one of those leaves for whatever
Mm.
reason, right? It doesn't have to
Mm.
be negative, but they leave, yeah, they go traveling, they take their family to Dubai, but they're doing something else. And then that trickle effect, because they were in that little group of high billers, right? They were the
Mm.
friends. They supported each other, worked really well together. That's now fragmented. So one by one, your top billers leave, maybe over a period
Mm.
of years, right? It's not
Yeah.
necessarily
Mm-hmm.
quick, is it? But those people go, and then suddenly you've got a business where you don't have your top billers, you don't have, as you say, you don't have anyone new who can replace them.
No.
And I think, as you say, we're risk averse, but we also don't like having these kinds of conversations. Well, you and I will
Conversations.
do
Mm.
all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
those conversations of, of, what are we going to do if those top billers go for whatever reason,
Mm.
out of our control, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, that there's, and I just feel like it's short-sighted. It
Yeah.
is
I mean,
short-sighted.
look, there's economic factors. We know that. We know the national
Yeah,
minimum wage, which as parents of young
yeah,
people is there to protect their ability to have a standard of living that allows
yeah,
them to have an
yeah,
independent life. And it's about,
yeah,
I guess raising up standards rather than sort of
yeah.
diminishing standards. But we know it's had an impact, and we know that we're seeing this across every industry. And the number of unemployed 16 to 24-year-olds has never been so high. We
Mm,
know this. We're not trying to solve an economic problem or a government-led
no.
strategy. But what we're saying to you, if you're listening, we're presuming you're listening because you're either a recruitment leader or you're thinking of
Yeah,
becoming a recruitment leader or you're in recruitment. What can we do to solve the problem? So if you can think about that as your audience, what can we do to attract new people into our industry? So what sort of skill sets do you think a new recruiter should have now in
yeah,
2026 and beyond?
and beyond. And I love this question And you know why? Because again, sort of around my reading and I guess where the future of hiring is going, right? Not just for us,
Yes.
not just in our
Okay.
industry, but just globally, right?
Yeah.
It's all about attitude. And I bet if you and I looked at the successful people in our industry, and success, what does that mean? Maybe that's high billings, maybe that's running their own company, whatever. They have a certain attitude, and
Okay.
part of that attitude and aptitude is to learn.
Yeah.
And part of that aptitude to learn is to make mistakes, right? So when you're hiring, you are not looking for, kind of like back in the day, right? It was who was polished, who came across really well, right? People can, of course, come across very well in an interview. That doesn't mean they can work under pressure
Yeah. Yeah.
in recruitment, does it? So I think the way we need to go is we need to look at attitude and aptitude, and how willing are those new people to learn, to make mistakes, and to go again, right?
Yeah.
Because actually, we know in recruitment, when it's all going lovely and people
Brilliant.
are
Yeah.
hiring and we're making money, right? Easy, brilliant, yeah,
Easy.
it's easy, right? What you easy. I say to the director who does the hardest job, right? But
Thank you.
what you need is what you need are the people who, when the clients aren't picking up, when there's no placements being made, when deadlines are being moved and moved and moved again, right? You need the people that are going to dig in. They're going to dig in. They're going to carry on, and they're happy to do that. Actually, that's probably another point, isn't it? They need to kind of enjoy the fact that this is a bit hard or very hard, as the case may
Yeah.
be. So when I look at people coming in now, who are first jobbers, second jobbers, the people that I see who are sort of already winning, right? They're already billing, they're learning. They have this attitude. They have this attitude of do you know what? I'm going to crack on. I'm going to carry on. It feels hard, and that's okay.
Do you know
I
what?
can
Do you
deal
know
with
what
hard.
word? There's a word that is just swirling around in my mind the entire time I'm listening to you
Oh
here,
yeah, go on.
and I can't remember what.
Yeah,
I think it might have been an Adam Grant podcast or Brene Brown, somebody like that.
Grant.
It was
Oh, yeah,
so a non-recruitment
yeah,
podcast, but it's all around leadership and mindset, and the word is relentless.
yeah,
It's relentless
yeah.
learning. It's
Yes, it is.
relentlessness that, above all
Yeah.
else, allows you to have a continued success in our industry and other industries, of course, but in recruitment specifically, with everything else
Yeah,
you've described. You need to be adaptable. You need to be curious. You need
yeah,
to, be coachable. All those things. But if you're not relentless about any of those things,
yes,
and I just think we never hear that word
yes.
enough.
No, no, you're so right. And it is, and right, it's like running a business, right? It's relentless. It never stops.
Literally.
You never wake up in the morning and think, I'm done, right? I've done
No,
everything I need. Right, that never
absolutely.
happened. Yeah, and recruitment's the same, right? There's always more. There's always more. And there's this great, I'm going to do a LinkedIn post on this. Have you seen, there's a great interview. It's Scott Mills talking to Mariah Carey.
Right. I've heard what? No,
Have
go
you
on. I can't
heard of this?
remember.
No. And he's just interviewing her, and he says, "Oh, did you know Katy Perry went into space?" And she's like, "No, she's Mariah Carey. What does she care, right?" She's like, "No, I didn't know she'd done that." And Scott Mills says, would you ever consider going into space?" And she goes, "I think I've done enough." Right, which first of all I love.
Yeah.
But also, that is the opposite of what we do, right? That is the opposite of recruitment. You can never
No.
sit back and go, "I've done it. I've done all of that."
I've learned everything I need to learn. I'm done. I've learned the school of
Yeah,
recruitment.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I've done everything in my day, right? It never happens. So you're, relentless. And I think kind of, again, and I'm all about the enjoyment of what we're doing, because it is motivational. So yeah, you need those people that in some odd way, somewhere deep inside, they enjoy it. They enjoy the fact that it's a continuous challenge.
Challenge.
Um,
And can
yeah,
demonstrate that. And I think that's where, for me, AI can
yeah,
never replace the human element. Because we're not talking about sending
and
out
it
e-shot
shouldn't,
after
right?
e-shot or sequencing. We're
Mm,
talking about,
yeah,
if you interview somebody, or you've got, I don't know, somebody in the coffee shop, or somebody that is ringing you on a
yeah,
cold call, and they are relentless with it, but in a good way, in a nice way, where they're making you feel comfortable and they've got a great tone and they've got a good
yeah,
personality. That's your future recruiter right there,
mm,
rather than,
yeah,
they've gone to this school, they've done this degree, or they've necessarily done this job, which I don't think has ever proven anything. It's about attitude. I love that.
no, no, exactly. Yeah, yeah, it doesn't matter what you did before. And I think now to people, that I recruited 10, 15 years ago who, yeah, in an interview, by their own admission, terrible. They
Mm,
were, right? They were. But I think you have to, again, you've got to have those processes and your onboarding, and of course that's important. But I think we've got to be careful that yeah, with these biases as well, that people still have. We
yeah.
all have them, don't we? We are just
Mm,
human. But making decisions about people, in a 2-hour meeting,
mm.
no, is that realistic?
I
Probably not.
think I think Joe Major would have a lot to say about that in terms of
Yeah,
our unconscious bias when it comes
exactly.
to,
Yeah,
ensuring that you have a process, a competency based process that
yeah,
allows for you to be impartial and
yeah,
objective in assessing somebody's attitude and aptitude, rather than just going on the gut reaction. Although I still challenge her on that, in the sense of, and I know she listens to
mm.
every episode, that so much of
Sure.
what has made me successful is my
Yeah.
intuition around, and I'm going to use the word
Yes.
here, behaviors. It's the behaviors.
Yes.
So for me, what we've just been talking about, and how I think you can assess that, relentlessness and that
Mm.
curiosity, is how do they behave with me as their
Yes.
intermediate? So for example,
Yes.
when, I might have rejected them from a job, how do they come back from that feedback? Do they take the
Yeah.
constructive feedback well? Do they crawl into their, hole and go, oh my God, that's it,
Mm.
I'm leaving recruitment, or I'm never doing recruitment
Yeah.
again? Or do they go, right, let's go again?
Yeah.
To me, that literally means that they're ready to go again, so therefore they are relentless. So I think it's all around
Yes.
behavioural. And is that
Yeah.
something that I was trained in? Yes, I was trained in how to assess commitment and behaviours versus the
Yeah.
physical thing of what somebody's saying. So this all segues
Amazing.
so nicely back into why having a robust
Yeah.
learning and development strategy is critical in ensuring that recruiters
Mm.
are successful in what they do. And, you know,
Yeah.
I guess as we look at 2026, by the time this episode goes out, we'll probably be heading to, or definitely be in quarter 2. Where do
Yeah.
you see the investment now that we've had this, year of pause and consolidation and all the other words that we use? Like what if you had that earpiece of the recruitment leaders listening, what do
Yeah.
they need to do to ensure that they are investing in the right L&D
Yeah.
and for themselves as well?
Yeah. I think I think there are I think there are pools of people who've been just left to it. And we saw
Mm,
this in COVID, and we've seen this, as you say, last year. Um, and actually, I'm having more conversations around the people that are billing. They've been in that role for a few years, maybe 4, 5, 6 years, right? But actually, they've not really had any development for themselves, and it's all been reactive. It's all been about just trying to carry on and sort of exist. So I think what one thing I would say, if you have people in that cohort who they're just not moving from where they are, and I'm not talking about, they're a 200 biller and we want to get them to a, 500,000 biller. I mean, obviously, yeah, lovely if you can, but just what's next, what's next,
mm, mm,
because I think that cohort is quite often left alone.
mm,
And it's that cohort that end up leaving. And if you look at what's important to people at work, it is
mm,
that that element of growth, and feeling like you're not that you're moving up the ladder, but just within yourself, you
Yeah.
are developing, and you're better than you were this time last year, right? So
Yeah.
if we're not giving people that, and I'm sure you talk to people a lot about this, Lysha, where they just feel a bit unloved
Yep.
and a bit it's taken for granted,
I was
actually.
just about to
Taken for
say
granted.
that.
So
Literally about to say that.
were you? Yeah, yeah. Taken for granted. Oh, they'll be all right. They're fine. So look after those people, because actually, if they go, they
You've got
they
no
take a
business.
lot of
Yeah.
money with them. Yeah,
Mm,
that is your
yeah.
business, most likely.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to look after them. And yes, I'm going to wave the flag for hiring rookies, because it's worth it. They
Yeah.
they are your next stars. They are your next top billers. And I know there was that time versus cost, isn't there? And we get that. But again, thinking about your more experienced cohort, if they go, where is your business? What are you going to do?
Mm,
Um,
mm,
so I would look at them first, but I would also develop the newcomers, the rookies, whatever you want to call them. Because there's only so much, I think, as well, they can get by osmosis. And I'm a big one for them being with the team,
yep.
listening,
Yep.
mirroring. That is really important. But give them some one-to-one time, give them some coaching with someone like me. Other trainers are available. But just, give them a bit more than listening to people who actually are a lot more advanced than them. That's the other thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if they're
Absolutely.
sat with advanced people, it doesn't always work, actually, does it?
No. Well, no, I
Um,
mean, I learned that with
so,
Lilia. Lilia sat with me for a year.
yeah,
I've been doing this job for 25 years.
yeah,
And don't get me wrong, I broke it down. She did some training, but
yeah,
she's watching me do something that I've spent 25 years perfecting.
absolutely.
It's not what I was doing 25
Yeah,
years ago. So I'm holding my hands
no,
up. That is
no,
why I'm not going to probably hire again.
yeah,
I'm the contradiction. But everything that you've said
yeah,
there, Ali, is so beautiful to end this
yeah,
episode, because it's around, future proofing ourselves, whether we are a solo founder or whether we are employed as a recruiter,
yeah,
but we all
yeah.
have a responsibility to our future selves to ensure that
Oh, I love that.
we are underpinning our industry with
Mm,
the right people. But if we're bringing the right people in on attitude and aptitude, which it should always be, because let's
yeah,
face it, what AI has done is it's created an opportunity for us to be even more human and do the right
yes,
thing and stop being transactional. All of
yeah,
that. If you listen to the show, we've been talking about that for years, right? Very relevant.
yeah,
However, it's got to come with the caveat that if you're not then backing that up with structured training from the start in how to recruit and why you're doing this process, then you're
yeah,
just going to find yourself with this constant peak and trough, which is what
yeah,
often happens. I'm saying that as a rec to rec and probably doing myself out of lots of candidates here, but it's true. So
yeah,
I love this episode because for me, you're exactly the sort of person that I think should be training, every level, but particularly the future people, because I think you've got genuine pastoral care for human beings. But I
yeah,
think because you've done rec to rec, and B, I think because you do come from that educational piece, because you are here to educate. And I think don't
yeah.
underestimate osmosis. We haven't got time to debate the whole office
I
versus
know.
hybrid versus remote,
That'll be
but
another one.
but
Yeah,
Matt, I'm sure
yeah,
we're about to agree on it. I think if you're learning a new job, how can you do it if you're remote? You
yeah.
just can't.
No,
Even if it's for a certain period of time. That's just my view.
no,
Ali,
yeah,
you
yeah. No, I.
are such a strong advocate for our industry, and you're literally colourful in your beautiful Oliver bonus jumper. If you're not watching it, if you're listening,
Thank
and
you. Oh,
your love just exudes out of you. And have you got any final words for our audience?
oh, thank you. Well, look, thanks so much for having me. And we said this, didn't we, that we could just keep going. Um,
Yeah.
my final words would be, my final words would be, look, if if anything we've talked about, today has struck a chord, and maybe you're just, you are worried about that cohort I mentioned, or you are worried about, hiring rookies and where to start. I think this is where our industry are really good. Talk to us, talk to me, talk to Lysha. We can help you, and even if it's just an ear, right? And we know how important that is. Just having an opportunity to sort of say, well, look, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I see. What about you? And I'm open to that. I'm open to having these conversations. You shouldn't have to make these decisions on your own, right? And it
Love
can
that.
be very lonely. And I think if you're we are here, right? This isn't about gatekeeping information or that's just not me. It's not you. We want everyone to be their best and do their best.
We
So
do.
let's have a chat
Love
about
it.
it.
Love it, Ali. Thank you so much for joining us.
You.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you
This
so
has
much.
been the Recruiters Recruitment Podcast. Thank you.